Welcome back to the Team Figgins Still Yet to Be Named podcast. Aiden Bassett here with Jacob Figgins. We got Tyler Parker and very special guest, not related to the previous Parker, good friend Matt Parker here today on the podcast. We got a lot of fun things to go over, but we want to start first by introducing our other Team Figgins team member, Matt. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about your story, your disc golf journey, and what's brought you here to Team Figgins as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a weird story of how I even got started really in disc golf, but my dad has been playing since 1991. And when I was growing up in Venice, we really didn't have disc golf courses around us, in a close proximity. So my dad would actually take us out to the local park and we'd sit out in the field and he'd set a laundry basket up and we would throw discs into a laundry basket, and that's kind of how I got the gist of what disc golf was. And it just became a big recreational thing, so it wasn't really anything, it was just for fun with the family, and we would go occasionally. And about 14 years ago, we started a tradition where on Thanksgiving we actually cook our whole meal the night before, and we would go and play disc golf the day of Thanksgiving. We would go to a different course somewhere, find grills, set up and reheat our food, and we would play disc golf, before and after type deal. And that was really the only time I played disc golf, was that once or twice a year and on Thanksgiving kind of thing. So it was really never anything other than just to have fun. And I met a couple friends who had been into disc golf for a few years at the little local 9-hole course in Venice, and he ended up telling me hey man, you're pretty good. You should try a tournament and try to get into that. And I was like, no, I'm not that good. I can't do anything like that. And it was at Water Tower was my first tournament. It was a trilogy challenge, which go figure, at Water Tower. I can't stand that place. It's growing on me, but it was at Water Tower. It was a trilogy challenge, and I won my first technically tournament ever. And I still have that disc hanging on the wall of the little trophy disc that I won there. But nonetheless, that was the trigger for me. As soon as I did that first tournament. What was that?
What year was that?
Oh, 20 would have been probably the year before COVID. I think it was the year before COVID.
Cool.
So 2019.
Nice.
But yeah, that was my first technically tournament ever, and that lit a fire, and I just started going everywhere. And I spent a whole year traveling like crazy, and I went into the NADGT stuff and got to I qualified to go to Texas and went into the national event out there in Austin and took third in the division I was playing with. So that was my first, major, that was, I guess, my only major podium situation. It was super awesome. But that was kind of where Team Figgins started to kind of roll into play. It was shortly after that I kind of started to meet Tyler, and met Tyler at a tournament one time, and I kept seeing his name multiple times in registration stuff, and it was man, there's another Parker out there, I wonder. And then one day he was running a tournament, and I met him, and we just, I don't know, we kind of hit it off. I feel like our personalities were just the same. But nonetheless, started playing more tournaments of his and kind of started just helping out in the mornings when I'd get there early to warm up, and he'd be setting up, and helped out when I could just to help him. And one day he approached me and said, hey, have you ever thought about a sponsorship? And it was no, no. So I ended up getting introduced to Jacob, and that's kind of where the Team Figgins journey started for me. And I am loving every minute of it. It's an awesome team, and it's an awesome group of people to represent. And I don't know, I feel like we're an awesome team, an awesome unit nonetheless. So it's awesome. I'm loving, though I don't travel quite as much as I have the past couple of years. It's in the prospects. Life takes over sometimes and kind of puts me on hold for a little bit. But I'm going to play Costa Rica this coming week, so it's an Eagles Wings course. Yep. So super excited for that.
Is this the course that they built in honor of the Matthew from Lakeland? I think it is.
Is it? It's right there
Yeah.
in like just outside of San Jose.
I'm pretty sure. I'm super jealous. It's on my list of things to do. You'll have to send me a picture of the sign at the intro and see if it has. Like,
Yeah, I definitely
honor on
will.
that.
It's
That's
super
really
cool.
cool
That's
too.
the thing where it's right when we get off the plane. That's pretty much where we're headed first. So
Awesome.
Well, Matt's
pretty
also
awesome.
Super
a
excited.
lefty, so that's just adds a whole new level to things. I'm sure that makes all of the courses around here so fun for you.
Yeah,
Got to be a good time.
yeah.
So it's like you and Sully, because Sully's forehand only, and you're backhand but lefty. So I'm sure that's a good time. Don't envy that. Not gonna lie, especially at like Water Tower. I don't know how you do it, but you still beat me like every tournament. So
It's so hard. Water Tower is so stressful. That is like when I found out Team Figgins was playing two different courses this year. It was like, oh my God, thank you.
had a little bit of redemption at Lakeview. Oh my goodness.
Not for me, but it was much better than 2 stress rounds at Water Tower.
Oh man. Well. Speaking of that tournament, it kind of gets into something that I wanted to bring up before, and actually, while you were talking about that, I was looking up kind of the PDGA ratings from that tournament because I had taken some issue with it, and actually, it got fixed in the time that I had an issue with it, and we were going to talk about it on the podcast. So it actually fixed the ratings. But initially, here's what I was upset about. I played the second round of the tournament at Lakeview Park. And my round, I shot like 2 under. Wasn't a good round. It was okay. Like it was like 920 rated. Below my rating, I was like, man, I'm shooting under par. I go and look at the MA2 ratings those guys had played there that morning as well. And somebody who had shot 3 over par, his round was rated like 970. And I was like, what on earth is happening right now? How is this even possible? But then they actually fixed it later on. So like when I went back to look at the Team Figgins Open scores from that, they actually fixed it. So maybe it's not that much of an issue. But in the moment, it was a big deal.
I actually have something to say about
Okay.
that because they did not fix it when it happened to me this last time.
Let's hear it.
So not at Team Figgins Open. I was at another tournament down at South Charlotte, so that Punta Gorda course down there, and we played. It was one of the flex starts that you kind of you could come anytime from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to play or however that was. Well, there was hurricane force winds and pouring rain in the morning. Well, that was the only time slot that I was able to play, so I had to show up, and my card we brutaled through. I'm not kidding. It must have been 40-mile-an-hour winds. It was insane. It was just absolutely wild. Well, I somehow shot a +2 out there from longs in that weather. Well, when it first came out, there were guys in MPO that were rated way higher than me that were shooting like +4, +5, and I finished +2. So my rating started out at like 980, something like that. And that was because all of us had just played in crazy weather. Well, afternoon, the weather completely changed and it came bright and sunny outside. And everybody else that came out and played in perfect weather. And there were guys that shot even and they won the tournament on even. And that all of a sudden dropped my rating big time, or -2, I think might have been the winning score. But nonetheless, dropped my rating way, way down because these guys that are now rated lower than me and lower than most of the MPO players are now shooting better because the conditions were better. And that affected everybody's rating throughout the day. So I think that's a bit of a flaw in the system as well, because I don't know how they would necessarily take the weather into account, but nonetheless, I mean it wrecked my rating because I shot a heck of a good score given the conditions that we were playing in, and in turn ended up hurting me in the long run because as conditions cleared up, everybody else was able to shoot better, in the good conditions. So,
Well, Tyler,
I'm not
I
sure
don't
how
know.
you would.
yeah, you're a TD. What do you see? Like, is this a common thing? Like, because it definitely was a wake up call to me in this past tournament. Like, And we can get into whether or not the rating system is actually that big of a deal, but like, what do you see?
I'm not sure that like there is a way to differ really throughout the day, because it's weighing strictly score based. But as a TD, when you do submit your tournament report, it asks for notes. And if there's anything like that that happens to where the first hour is like pouring rain and the rest of the day is beautiful, I always put those notes in there. I don't know what effect it has whenever the PDGA reviews it, but I do think it's very important for the TD to actually document correctly anything that happens during the day that could affect ratings in a major way like that. So I'm not sure if TDs are noting it correctly or if they're just submitting the reports. That's one thing. But truly, when it comes down to it, and the algorithm is running, it's looking at like score based and propagators. So I don't know how on a flex start you truly weigh in everything, because you're already looking at super diverse like scenarios. To add in a third scenario to where it only affects like an hour window, I really don't know how you would handle that. Because it's not like you can weigh heavy in the morning and give someone a 2 down or 2 over at 980, and then in the afternoon give somebody a 2 over a 940. Like, it's not really how the system's built. So
right. Well,
really
it just adjusted itself down to that, to 930 or whatever it was, just because people that were rated, lower were shooting now even -2.
If there was a way for the PDGA to make the scores during a certain, like, say there's a known storm for the first 2 hours, make them way heavier, that's not a bad idea. But I don't know if that's even an option.
Well, then
And another option is just don't be busy later in the day and play the tournament when it's nice outside. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it also begs the question,
That's an interesting
like, is the rating system that important? And the only reason why I think it is kind of important is because they base how people actually get into Pro Tour events based off of the rating system. Like, they release those signups in tiers based off of whether or not you have a tour card, one, and then after that it's based on your rating. So, Tyler, what are you smiling about? Tyler's eating. I mean, think about it, though. Like, that could be, if you have a tournament like that and you're right on the cusp of, like, I don't know where the cutoff is before 1,000, if it's like 10-10 or 10-15 or something like that. But if you have a tournament right before signups for one of those events and your rating drops because of one of those mishaps, then, like, that could be the difference between you getting into a lot of Pro Tour events that you plan on going to, or not even being able to play them at all, and potentially even having to go and like try to play Monday qualifiers or something like that. Which, by the way, Monday qualifiers are awesome. I'm so glad that they do that in disc golf.
Yeah,
now.
I think
they've done that in golf for a long time.
I agree. That's one of the coolest things that I'm seeing now is you're letting in those people that are like, you see more like local guys just like showing up to those events, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, like last year, I was up there for Jonesboro, and Jared Stahl went out and shot like 1070 rated or 1060 rated 8 under at Disc Side of Heaven. Is like one of the best rounds of the tournament. Like, it would have been in like top 15, top 20 if he had like shot that over 4 rounds. So it was really funny to see like just a random day out there, and those guys are like scrapping for it and shooting just as good as some of the top 15, 20 guys shoot like during the tournament. I don't know. Ratings are tough.
I think it's
Jacob. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just feel like that's a tough thing, like from a computer perspective of it, because there is like all these algorithms that they're running that they don't like publicly share, obviously. So you don't know for sure exactly what all is factoring into it. But like Tyler said, there is like manual review of all the tournaments. So like when Tyler puts in those notes and it changes, like I think that genuinely there's someone weighing that. But it's just so hard to get every single scenario because there's so many outside factors that if, say, you did weigh in the first 2 hours of weather, that could just screw up enough of the later ones. Like, it would be really hard to fine-tune something to where it would take all those factors into account. And so I think it would be pretty hard to get something that is truly perfect when it comes to the rating system, unfortunately.
Well, and I guess maybe the only thing is basing it off of other players. And the only thing I really have to compare it to is, ironically, like chess.com, like if you play chess, you have the same rating system, and you're considered a grandmaster above a certain level of rating. It's like 22 or 2400, something like that. And it differs based off of like what your time limits are and things like that. But like that system, you can kind of determine like, hey, how good of a chess player are you based off of where your rating's at. So it's cool to be able to have that in disc golf, but it also is like it's interesting that it affects what divisions you can play in and things like that. And it's also a weird break from MA2 to MA1. I feel like having it at 935 instead of 950. I don't know why they do 50, 50, 35, 65. Like I don't understand why that break is there. Because I noticed a huge dip. I mean, I don't throw very far. So like when I was playing MA2, I was pretty consistently 950 to 960 rated rounds, and I was playing really well and I would win tournaments in MA2, and then I would go to MA1 and I'd have to move back to long pads, and I'm shooting like 910, 920 rated rounds, and my rating immediately went back down. It's like, do I just want to bounce back and forth between MA2 and MA1 all the time? Like, is it worth doing that?
I feel like too, you have so many different courses, so like to have like 1,000 rated on every course can be so different. Like 1,000 rated at like Water Tower is so much different than 1,000 rated at Lakeview, because those are just two completely different courses. To have a rating system where you can perfectly get that all right, like I feel like it's so weird. And like I feel like some courses can have those weird gaps where once you move back or once you move up to a higher division and you're moving to longer pads, then you can't get screwed over. So it is like, I feel like there should just be some way that they could figure out to make that work better, but I don't know how you would really do that. Like, I'm trying to rack my brain, but I just don't know how you would get that to work right.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a perfect system. The only place where I feel like it really doesn't matter at all is though on the Pro Tour. Like if you're a tour card holder, I don't feel like that matters at all. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that.
No, I do. I agree with that. On tour, I don't think it makes a difference whatsoever. You see different guys winning it, on different events, and one might be rated lower this week, one might be rated way higher next week, and I think that once you have that tour card, but I do think ratings make a difference to get that. You have to continuously average that high rating in order to even qualify to get a card to compete that way. But I feel like once you have it, it doesn't make a difference.
That's where I feel like there should be some sort of system adopted, kind of what they have like in golf, where you have like the Corn Ferry Tour and stuff like that, where you kind of are qualifying, like you're actually playing disc golf to qualify, and you're based off of your placement in those qualifying tournaments to get up to the Pro Tour, or if you had like a series of tournaments that you play to get to a tour card or get guaranteed a certain amount of Pro Tour events or some sort of way to do it that way, where it's everyone competing on the same playing field, versus 1,000 rated in Bradenton, Florida is different than 1,000 rated in California or wherever. Like that's something else. Like I feel like ratings locally, like they all match each other. Like you can see how good a player is based on the rating here in this, like in Southern Florida. But then if you go somewhere else, those ratings don't exactly match. Like player level, I feel like doesn't match all the time. So I feel like if you had qualifying tournaments to get onto the Pro Tour instead of basing it off of rating, I feel like you get a better kind of field out of that. But I don't know.
I feel like the Pro Tour tournaments rate
that's also
higher.
True.
I agree.
And I think it's because there's more skill there. And so someone like, example, local Ben playing Water Tower versus everyone else local is going to shine more because he's going to shoot a lot better. But you go on the Pro Tour, they're all going to be shooting high, or if they're shooting low, they're having a bad day or something. I don't know. But I feel like somehow that makes them way heavier. And I could be totally wrong with that, but I don't see how you can have like the touring guys being 1050 rated, and you have somebody locally who grinds all the time and they're only like 1010 rated. There's got to be something, like if you're not playing more challenging tournaments, you're probably not scoring high or something. I don't know. Because if I don't know.
Do you think it's that, or I know that in a ratings, the way that the ratings work, it kind of factors in everybody that is in the field there. And I'm wondering if on the Pro Tour, your average rating is much, much higher than it would be at some other local type tournament. So if, when it factors in that if you shoot even, it should be 1,000 rated, or however that works out, on when the lowest rated player in the whole tournament is 1,000 rated, then even if they shoot +4, that would still technically say this 1,000 rated player, 1,000 rated is at +4. So anyone that shoots -2, -3, now it's 1050, 1060, because the lowest rated player is already that high. Whereas in the local tournaments, I feel like you still get those guys that are, 950s just trying to get into, the MPO field. Then you have those guys that are 1010 rated that, battle with it. But I feel like the lower rated players kind of draw that back just because of where their rating stands.
Well,
I don't know. I could be wrong as well. But
are the tour cards based off of ratings, or are they based off of tour points?
I think it's points.
Because if they're based off of points, that makes more sense. But I don't understand why you have some events where you can sign up based on your rating, and there's two different systems. You have the tour cards in place. You have the different tiers of cards and what those mean. But then you also have like a certain group that can sign up because of their rating. Like, I don't understand why there's two separate things going on. Like, why not have tour card holders? You can sign up for the event. Everyone else has to go to a qualifier event. It's not like you can just sign up. Or it's like, hey, if you go play this A tier and you win, you're qualified into a Pro Tour event or Pro Tour event. And then all of a sudden you're like working your way in, similar to a Corn Ferry situation, where it's not like just because you shoot a certain score on the Corn Ferry Tour, that doesn't qualify you for anything. It's only if you beat people, which would make sense for disc golf. It's the same way that Monday qualifiers work for disc golf. Why not have that be all the way around?
Yeah, I've heard people complain about that. Like, certain people that are tour card holders, they're not as high rated as others that are, and people are complaining, like, how did they get a tour card? So I really don't know the whole strategy behind having a tour card, but I do know that it seems to be kind of conflicting to ratings.
They change the qualifying methods every year, is what I'm seeing. So there's like, people are grandfathered in. So if you participated in the Pro Tour Championship in 2022 or 2023, you automatically get a card. And then it's based on points after that. So they're almost full pretty much. And so there's a very small amount of people that they do technically have a qualifying series, but there's so few people that I feel like get in based off that. I feel like it is kind of weird I don't know. I'm just not sure what better way there is to do it, but I feel like the tour card, it's a very weird situation where you have some people that have it and some people that don't, and it doesn't really add up all the way.
I would like to see more of like qualifying events like they do for USDGC. It's such a big deal. Like last year at Throwdown, I remember I was walking with Braden Sides because he was in contention for USDGC spot, and he decided to run a putt on 18 to try to finish in a lower spot in the top five. Top five people qualified for USDGC, and he decided to run a putt on 18. He missed, and it went way long. He missed that putt and then tapped in for a bogey instead of a birdie. Put him tied for fifth for the tournament. So he had to go into a playoff with Aiden Scott and somebody else to even vie for that USDGC spot. And that made it so much more intense. Like it totally changed the tournament. So like thinking about how that tournament was maybe like a bigger deal than just like, hey, I'm not just trying to finish as high as I can in this tournament. Like this tournament means more than just the top three or whatever. And I'd like to see more Pro Tour events have qualifying events just around the U.S. like that.
What's your take, Matt?
No, actually, I agree. I like that style. I feel like it opens the door to so many more than just the popular, the popular crew, which I love watching all those guys and all those girls. I love it. But I do agree. I think that it would give the people who struggle to beat, to get into that, it would give them a shot to qualify to get into that position. And that's what they do with golf as well. It's a competitive tournament style to get into that pro tour anyway. So I think that it would be the same for disc golf.
Yeah.
But
Well, for our next topic, the big thing right now going on with the scoring for Pro Tour is actually UDisc and the PDGA parting ways. I'm going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about the situation or exactly what happened, but I certainly would be curious to know because obviously that's changed things for the users of UDisc too. But I don't know if y'all have any thoughts on that or any ideas of what may be going on there.
I feel like it's weird to go away from a system that you've had in place on the Pro Tour for 8 years. So there's got to be some in-depth reasoning that makes the shift. I personally disagree with UDisc raising their rates from a couple of years ago, $5 a year to $30 a year.
That's nuts.
What good have they brought to the disc golf world? Nothing. I don't think the changes in UDisc that have happened in that time frame are very minimal. To me, it's not worth it. They tried to use the COVID hype of disc golf growing to make money, I feel like, and I just disagree with that. I would personally love to see someone like Jacob make a great, scorekeeping, casual use app that's free. Because why are we paying $30 a year just to keep our scores now if they're not partnered with anyone? You don't use them for tournaments, you don't watch big events on them. What's the value in UDisc? I personally, I'm being on staff for some of the Pro Tour events. I just know that we're transitioning to PDGA, the app. I don't know why. I haven't heard why. I can ask questions. I'm going to because I'm very curious. But I know we had a meeting today. And one of the things that we do on a Pro Tour event is we recruit volunteers to be official scorekeepers for every card on the Pro Tour. And so our meeting today was, how are we going to handle telling someone that's never kept score, here's a whole new system, or that is super familiar that we could rely on for UDisc. Now everyone's going blind into a new system. How's that going to go over for the first event of the year? So it's definitely going to pose some major challenges, I feel like, and as I don't know why it happened, I'm very curious to see how it's going to play out.
I did have a question about that. Did they say anything about what that system's going to look like? Because obviously with UDisc, you're able to input hey, this guy's off the fairway. He's OB after 2 throws. What is that going to look like for PDGA?
I heard it's a PDGA app and that it does do statistics.
That's good.
I haven't seen it, and I've not heard anything else. I'm very curious.
I hope it's awesome, honestly, because it's great that it's good to probably shift away from a paid service. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. That's my thought is that it's maybe good to shift away from a service that's that expensive for disc golf scorekeeping. I mean, really, because I mainly feel that way because they raised the price without adding any value to the app. The app hasn't improved. I'm struggling to see where the extra $25 a year is going. I think I understood a little bit of a bump to the $15 rate before, but I hope the PDGA app is awesome because it really is nice to be able to watch those tournaments and see those scores roll in.
Definitely, I agree with you on the price raid. I don't know that there's nothing that was added to the app to, make that worthwhile. In my opinion, I don't know that. I love what UDisc does, and I love the convenience of everything is there, everything is available, and they made it really awesome to connect with. Now you can find the people nearby. You can, but at the same time, at what cost is that for $30? I don't see the point of that. But it could be that they're now getting to the point to where they're starting to think that, hey, people will pay it regardless. And maybe the PDGA was like, no, we're not taking part in that. So I don't know if that's maybe what it was, and they parted ways just because of a money standpoint. But I don't know. the style of UDisc is incredible, but it definitely, if you can find a free alternative that will run just the same and it's linked under where it's all being stationed at, then it's definitely a smarter money play.
For sure. I feel like they definitely built a cool app, and there's been features that they have added to the app. Like, I will say that, but who's really using all of those features? Like, there's a lot of cool things, but why?
We do use the league features.
Yeah, but I think that's free for leagues.
But it's not cool to tell. I think so, because it's not like I can run a league and enforce every one of my people to buy a
exactly, which is insane. Yeah, so it's like when you used to, like, I remember when we did tournaments, you had one person, like, you had people keeping score in UDisc. That was a very normal thing to say, hey, keep your backup score in UDisc. And now, obviously, everyone's keeping their own score, so that's separate too. And there's obviously the live scoring for people to use that we currently have. But yeah, you can't have people have to pay $30 a month on top of all these other things. When I started, UDisc was included in the PDGA membership. Like, I didn't even have to pay anything extra for, like, the actual membership. Yeah. And so I feel like if they offered some sort of, like, UDisc Lite, where I, like, the rating thing that they added and all these extra features, like, if I could just have scoring for $5 a year or even $10 a year, and just, like, what the core app was, I think you could get a lot more people to stay on board. But I feel like so many people are leaving because they're being forced to pay $30 a month for all these features that no one really wants or uses.
I was good with $14.99 and even $19.99 for a whole year. $30 is not acceptable.
I feel like it's just weird.
It's not like it's an Amazon membership.
Yeah.
What else am I getting as a kickback all year long? No free shipping.
That's right. What have you done for me lately?
So that's why I feel like PDGA has a cool opportunity here to really, like, build a cool app that could actually, like the rating thing that you just did, but since it is the PDGA and they actually have ratings, you could build, like, you could see mock ratings of, your actual score of what the PDGA algorithms would give you a rating for. So I don't know. Yeah. I think it'll be cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
We may see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully the PDGA fixes that, and then all we need is good commentary, and then everything will be all right.
Our sport's growing.
That's right. So before we go, we wanted to do some predictions from chess.com Open. I know that's coming up soon. We went over some yearly predictions. What are your thoughts, Jacob? Kick us off on who's FPO and MPO side of the podium for this event.
Oof. I honestly don't know who all is playing the chess.com Open Invitational in FPO side, but I want to say one of the Linz twins. I would assume they're both playing. I feel like it would be cool to see one of them take it down. I don't know how likely that is.
Let's say Jordan, since Morgan's always the one dominating.
I think that would be cool.
They killed it this past
Yes,
year.
they did.
They did.
So one of them, and then, I don't know, I'm going to say what I said last time. I want to see a Paul win out of chess.com. I want to see him kick it off. He had a pretty rough year last year with the injury and everything. I want to see him, like, start off the season strong.
Oh, by the way, I want to say how hilarious it is that a rough season for Paul is still like 3 Pro Tour wins.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Matt, what are your thoughts?
That's awesome.
So on FPO side, I do agree. I think it would be super cool to see the Linz twins come out and make a big, she was FPO Rookie of the Year. So to see her walk off of that, she's kind of carrying momentum coming into this one. So it would be super cool to see that. But I think a underdog, I want to say. So I think that she's so young, and I think she's partially overlooked right now just because of her age. But Eliezra Midling,
yeah,
she is going to be one to watch. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be this tournament that's going to, but she is in this one. So I think this is a good opening for her. But she is going to make waves in the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I'm just calling that now because the things that girl is capable of doing at 16 years old, it's going to change the whole FPO field by the time she's, 25, 20, I mean,
yeah.
Look at what Gannon did in 2 years. and how he changed from a matter of 16 to 18, and did you guys watch the distance competition? She was throwing
Yes.
530 something feet at
I played
16
around
years
with
old.
her last month in January, and I've never seen a girl throw with so much power. It was the craziest thing to witness.
It is crazy.
She's also like consistently throwing that far in tournaments. It's not like just the distance comp. She's throwing 530. She's throwing over 500 on consistently in tournaments, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't know that it's necessarily going to take the cake for chess.com, but I do think that she is definitely one to watch as the season goes on because, she's so young into the Pro Tour, but she's going to do big things, I think. So,
yeah.
But on the MPO side, I don't know. I don't know. I do think it'd be awesome to see Paul come back and just come back. And what better place to do it, But it would be super cool to see him come back from not only an injury and a baby, and be able to come back and perform top notch again. But there's definitely, competition's getting crazy. So, yeah. But Paul and, I always pull for Calvin. Calvin is always just one of those guys that I always want to see on top because he is, to me, the most consistent player on tour. So, it just seems that he can catch those wins here and there, but I'm really hoping that this is his season to take it because he's going to do very well.
Okay. Tyler?
All right, so I want to say that I really want to see Paul win at his new course, but, and we all know Paul's probably my favorite pro. My predictions are MPO first place finish, Calvin Heimberg, FPO first place finish, Missy Gannon.
Okay.
Ooh.
Missy Gannon has never played this course, even when it was the old layout and the new layout.
Wow.
So
I've seen her. She's been practicing for the last 2 weeks though, and so she had a great season in 2023. I really am excited to see what she does in 2024. Really would love to say it's going to be Paul and a Lens twin, and it's going to be Floridians, but it could be Calvin, who's a Floridian, and Missy Gannon because she's got power. I think that's my pick is Calvin and Missy.
Is Missy Gannon not a Floridian as well? Doesn't she live in Pensacola?
She's from New York.
Paul's not from
okay,
here, to be fair, technically, either.
I see.
Hey,
Yeah,
Paul,
I got
Paul
you.
lived on the Gulf Coast in Clearwater for
True.
a while, so he's technically he's as much Floridian as I am probably at this point.
Okay. My thoughts, of course.
What about you, Abe?
Yeah, I think I would like to see Paul, but I'm gonna say Joseph Anderson, dark horse pick.
Oh,
This kid plays
I love
out of his
this.
mind at this course, and
this is true.
I know that if he doesn't win this event, I think he's going to pick up a Pro Tour win at some point this year. Just he is so good.
I'd say first half of the year
Yeah,
too.
it'll be early on. He'll pick up. I feel like Texas, he could easily take one down, but I
here for
legitimately think that he'll be at least in the top 5 in this event. But I think he could take it down. I think Calvin will also do well. I think we're also going to see. I have a feeling that somebody who's like not a typical, like it's not going to be like a Paul or a Calvin or an AB or somebody like that who's like expected to do well. Or I don't even think Gannon will. I think Gannon will be top 5, but I don't think he'll win. I think it'll be somebody who's like not as expected by the general public. I think FPO's side is kind of a shot of the left field, but I think Katrina Allen will take it down. I feel like her game kind of fits the course, and I feel like she played well last year-ish, but like also struggled towards the end of the season a little bit, I think. So maybe just a little bit of motivation going onto the off season will go a long way. But who knows? That's why they're predictions.
Awesome. I love the predictions.
Yeah.
I love the uniqueness. I can't wait to see it play out. Actually, when this drops, will be the day after it wraps up. So
I want to throw
we'll
one more
we'll see how
prediction in
close we
there
were.
that I think I missed. Is Ezra Robinson
I think he is.
in
Think
this
so.
event?
I think
Okay.
so.
He is, I think, going to be for sure top 10, but I'm thinking maybe top 5. He has been playing exceptional woods golf, and though his form kind of wigs me out a little bit. He is like spot on. I mean, he has been doing so good. I was listening to an article the other day about how stats with his and as well, but his last half of the season was huge. So I think he's going to be in there as well.
I think Isaac will also play super well too.
Yeah.
Just like this course is going to favor people who can throw mid ranges really far like he can, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for this tournament.
I think Isaac is probably expected to do super well.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, but
that's true.
I think his brother is kind of that underdog that is just now starting to make his splash into the disc golf scene. So
yeah,
one of us is going to be right, surely.
Yeah, we threw out so
we got
many
4
different
shots
things.
at it.
I had to throw it in there because if it comes up, at least it looked
Exactly.
like, you know, I could have said, man, I should have said
If
it.
Joey
when we were
finishes
there.
in the top 5, I will buy you coffee.
Yes, that's what we need to do. We need our own like bets on these things. We need coffee bets. I need Starbucks.
I just said coffee because, we love coffee, but Joey loves coffee.
Oh, that's true. I just had a shot of espresso, so I'm wired.
I have the
I did.
mushroom coffee.
Crazy.
Nice.
Look at us. Jacob, you drinking coffee
I'm the only one not
Almost
drinking
por
coffee
favor.
right now, unfortunately.
I don't have coffee. I gotta go to bed and
Be a responsible person. Oh, goodness. Well, hey,
Bible study.
thanks so much for tuning in. If you were listening to us or watching us on YouTube, wherever you're getting us, thank you for watching. Let us know your suggestions. We definitely want to hear feedback. We don't even know what the name of this thing is yet, so we definitely need some help with that. So help us out. Make sure to share us wherever you can, and definitely keep tuning in. Thanks so much. Have a great night.